Hello, my name is Anders, and I have the pleasure of being your sauna master for the next 14 minutes. I've brought my 3 essential oils, Kefir, which is nice for your respiratory system. I've brought the Jubilee blend from Aroman, which is nice for the mood. And then we'll finish with lemongrass, neroli, and vanilla. Enjoy.
With every pouring, there is a recipe to follow. The reason why we pour water is 1, to increase the humidity and to cool down the stones. Cooling down the stones is in order for the oils in the cup not to burn on the hot stones. So remember to pour the water and the oils in around the same area of the stove. And then use 1 stove for each pouring. So if you use the front stove for the first pouring, then you're using the second stove for the second pouring, and so on. The slower you pour, the slower the steam, and the more comfortable and soft the humidity or the cloud that you'll create in the room. For the waving, there's also a recipe. Every time we take it from the stove to the guests in a continued circular movement, so the turbulence goes in the same direction and you optimize airflow, humidity, and that the scent is equally distributed all around.
Lad fokus hvile på åndedrættet. Let your focus rest on your breathing, on the area around your nose and your mouth, just on your natural breath.
Match your speak to the breaks in the music so that when you give instructions, you can be heard clearly and your guests are not struggling to hear your words through the loud music. And if you do speak over loud music, make sure you compensate equally in your voice. When distributing the humidity descent, then after having gone 1 full round, taking it from the stove to the guests, we continue taking it from the top to the bottom, and then once we've done that, we take it from the bottom to the top. And especially in the first round and in the second round, we do a full round, just floor to ceiling, so we can get all of the cold air out underneath the benches to optimize the heat shower in the end. And that was me fumbling with the towel. So when you do your different tricks, your different moves, make sure that you do just enough and not overdo it too much. And if you have the time to the music, then just do less, don't do more. Make sure you have a calm room. For the second pouring, you will add more water than in your first pouring, so you get an increase in heat from round to round. And it's not the actual heat that increases, it's the humidity that increases. So we want a ladder, a stepping stone of increase in heat from pouring to pouring. And as you can see here, I'm now using the second stove, and you will also notice that I'm using more water than in the first pouring. This will give an optimal feeling in the cabin. And if you have the time to spend, then allow the steam, as you can see here, to rise slowly. There's a perfect timing, not too fast, not too slow. You don't want the stones to reheat again so the oils burn off of the stones. And then allow the steam and the scent to rise, and then repeat the recipe once again from the stove to the guests all the way around, and changing dynamics and tempo rather than a lot of tricks. And then once you've completed one tour, then we take it from the top to the bottom, making sure that all the guests receive some steam, and that we also bring all of the heat to the ground so the feet are heated. This is going to create a much more thorough heating inside of all of the guests. And if you have flaring movements, please do use them. Something nice for the eye is always recommended. However, don't try too many new tricks. There's nothing as annoying as dirty towels and a sauna master that drops a towel all the time, or hits the guest for that matter.
As the heat builds, breathe deep. For every increase in heat, there's a corresponding cooling mechanism in the body. First we're sweating, then there's an increase in heart rate, and lastly, in about 3 minutes time, you will have a slight fever. It's the activation of those three mechanisms that releases the hormones dopamine, serotonin, which is our happiness and reward, which activates the GABA and oxytocin, which is our rest and digest, and lastly adrenaline.
Once again, I've chosen tracks that specifically allows a short break in between or in the middle of the track, so I can direct and guide my speak in a way that aligns with the music and with the increase in tempo and dynamics. And then I also adjust my movements and the intensity, the amount of strength that I use for each move, but never so much so that I get out of balance or that I fall. In that sense, you must always be able to retain yourself and stop your movement as soon as you know you're off track. As we progress into the final pouring and approaching the heat shower also, it's really important that you pay attention to every guest, that it's not 1, 2, 3 moves and then you've covered the entire sauna. You need to do it step by step, half a meter by half a meter, so that everyone gets a nice steam.
Breathe.
So this whole ritual is set up in such a way that there's no specific guidance. It's just an explanation for new sauna guests to understand what's actually going on in their body. So here in my final pouring, I don't have a proper speak as of yet, or in this particular version. and you must find your own way to introduce new guests to this kind of ritual. But I highly recommend that you speak into the heat increases, perhaps even the 3 thoughts that most people will associate with their first sauna experience, which is, this is hot, I thought it couldn't get any hotter, and hell, get me out of here. You will provide comfort by explaining this in advance. And once it gets really hot here in the 3rd round and you're matching your movements and your intensity with the steam and the music, then they won't get a panic attack. So speaking into the different techniques, first of all, if you're watching on the floor, there's something that fell on the floor. And if anything falls on the floor, if a lot of water falls, your bucket falls, your spoon falls on the floor, anyone makes something stand out, there could be a risk to anybody falling on it. You need to remove it immediately. If not, bend down, pick it up, but underneath the benches is also all right. If panic occurs, then everyone needs to be able to move out as fast as possible, so we need to remove those obstacles. Now, each of these tricks are tailored to giving guests more wind. This one is to drag the scent from the stove to the guests. So the way that you use your X's, the way that you use your rotations, they all play a part. Now it's time for the heat shower. So we've built our 3 pourings, we've distributed our heat evenly, we've made it from top to bottom, bottom to the top, and around a couple of times. So we are feeling hot air on the ankles and somewhat evenly spaced or medium air in the top. And then for the final pouring, for that extra crisp burn on the skin, you really give it what you got left in your arms, what you have left in the tank. And this is why you need to reserve and pace yourself in the first 2 pourings so that you don't burn out. Always remember firm footing, 1 step at a time, cover the entire space. When you start flaring and expanding beyond the 3 basic movements, you must do a save like that every now and then. It's not possible to keep sticky fingers all the time, so you will need to learn that there's no wrong movements, there's only stopping. And if you stop, everyone notices, but if you continue just like that, even though it was caught sloppy, then by continuing, it can actually look nice in the end. So I hope you enjoyed this presentation, and please, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask.